S&P 500 stocks posted strong weekly gains as investors cheered renewed optimism on the U.S.-China trade front Friday. The Dow ended 138 points higher as Boeing shares turned around to close up 1.5%. Boeing's turnaround gains in the tech and consumer discretionary sectors pushed the S&P 500 up 0.5%. Tech shares also, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq both rose at least 2.9% this week, though the laggard Dow gained only 1.7% amid Boeing's troubles. The S&P stocks have been on a tear this year, with the three major indexes rising more than 10% each in 2019. This week's gains were largely led by tech shares, as the sector surged 4.9%. The tech sector, semiconductor shares rose broadly on Friday, as the VanEck Vectors Semiconductor ETF SMH climbed 2.7%. Broadcom shares, Chinese Vice Premier Liu He spoke via telephone with U.S. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin and U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, Xinhua news agency reported Friday. The report of the news comes after CNBC reported Thursday that Chinese negotiators suggest combining a state visit to the U.S. with the signing of a trade deal. Beijing wants a deal. U.S. At&T shares rose 1.3% after Raymond James upgraded the telecommunications giant to outperform from market perform, citing an attractive valuation relative to rival Verizon. Ulta Beauty surged 8.3% on the back of better-than-expected quarterly earnings. The company's same Tesla shares fell 5% after investors were left disappointed with the unveiling of the Model Y, the car company's latest electric vehicle. CNBC's Sam Meredith and Spriha Srivastava contributed to this report.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.